Elias Rowan paused outside the wide silver doors of the diplomatic chamber and took a slow breath. The station around him hummed softly, filled with sounds of alien machines and distant voices speaking languages he could not understand. This meeting was supposed to be simple. He would walk in, represent humanity, speak calmly, and leave with a trade agreement. That was all. The doors slid open. The room beyond was large and round, built with smooth curves instead of sharp corners. Soft blue light flowed from the walls like slow-moving water. Several alien figures stood or sat in a half-circle, their tall bodies covered in layered robes that shimmered faintly. At the far end of the room stood two Vialori females. One was clearly older, her posture straight and powerful, her eyes sharp with experience. The other was much younger, smaller in height, with lighter skin and curious eyes that moved quickly around the room. Elias took one step inside. The younger alien froze. Her eyes widened, her breath caught in her chest, and the color drained from her face. For a moment, the entire chamber fell silent. Even the machines seemed to lower their hum. Then she gasped, "Mother, it's him, it's him." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with something deeper. Shock. Recognition. Awe. Elias stopped walking. Every eye in the room turned toward him. The older Valori female stepped slightly in front of her daughter, her expression changing from calm authority to sharp alertness. "What did you say?" the elder asked slowly. The girl did not look away from Elias. Her gaze stayed locked on him as if she were afraid he might disappear if she blinked. "He looks exactly like him," she said. "Just like the memory forms. The posture. The eyes. Even the way he stands." Elias raised his hand slightly, a human gesture meant to show peace. His heart began to beat faster, though he did not yet understand why. "I'm sorry," he said carefully. "I think there's been a mistake. My name is Elias Rowan. I'm here as a representative of Earth." The elder Vailori's eyes narrowed. "Earth," she repeated. "A minor species. Young, recently starbound." "Yes," Elias replied. "That's us." A low murmur spread through the chamber. The aliens exchanged glances filled with confusion and tension. The elder lifted one hand, and the room fell silent again. She studied Elias closely now, not as a diplomat, but as something unexpected that had walked into her life uninvited. "You entered this chamber unannounced," she said, "and my daughter reacts as if she has seen a ghost from the deep past." The girl swallowed. "Mother. He should not exist." Those words sent a chill through Elias. "I don't understand," Elias said honestly. "If I've done something wrong, I apologize. But I've never been here before. I've never met your people." The elder turned her head slightly toward her daughter. "Lyra," she said. "Explain." Lyra hesitated, then took a small step forward. Though her hands trembled, her voice grew steadier as she spoke. "In our earliest survival records," she said, "there is a human. A single one. He appeared when our stars were dying. When our worlds were breaking apart. He came from a species we had never met and never met again." Elias felt the room closing in around him. "That was thousands of cycles ago," the elder added quietly. "Before humans were believed to have left their home system." Lyra nodded. "And yet," she whispered, "he stands here." Elias shook his head slowly. "That can't be right. Humanity barely reached faster than light travel 3 centuries ago. We don't have records of ancient missions like that." "That is what troubles us," the elder replied. She raised her hand again, and the doors behind Elias slid shut with a soft but firm sound. "Seal the chamber," she ordered. Elias did not panic, but he noticed how suddenly alone he felt. The guards along the walls did not move toward him, but their attention sharpened. The elder stepped forward. "Human Elias Rowan," she said. "You will remain here until we understand why my child recognized you from legends that predate your species' known history." Elias nodded once. "I have nothing to hide," he said. "I just want the truth." The elder studied him for a long moment, then turned away. "Then we will show you ours." They moved him through long corridors filled with light and quiet air. Lyra walked beside him, her gaze still full of wonder and fear. She kept glancing at him as if checking that he was real. "Do I really look like him?" Elias asked gently. "Yes," Lyra replied. "But it's more than that. It's a feeling. When you walked in, something old inside me woke up." They stopped before a massive chamber filled with floating light panels. The air here felt different, heavy with memory. "This is our memory archive," the elder said. "Not records written by hand, but experiences preserved through generations." With a gesture, the lights shifted. The room transformed. Stars appeared around them, burning bright and unstable. A Valori world shook beneath violent space storms. Panic filled the air. Elias could feel it, even though he knew it was only a memory. Then a small human ship appeared on the edge of the storm. It looked fragile, old, nothing like the ships Elias knew. A human voice echoed through the chamber, calm and steady, offering help when no one else could. Elias felt his throat tighten. "That ship shouldn't have survived," Lyra whispered. "But it did." The memory continued. The human worked with Valori scientists, not commanding, not judging, but listening, adapting, changing plans again and again until something worked. Finally, the storm was diverted. The Valori world was saved, but the human ship vanished. "No remains," the elder said. "No body. No signal. Only one final message." The human's voice echoed again, soft but firm. "Live. Remember. And when my people return to the stars, be kind to them." The memory faded. Elias stood frozen. His mind raced with questions he could not answer. "That man was not me," he said quietly. "But he was human." "But yes," the elder replied. "And that is enough to change everything." Lyra looked at Elias with new understanding. "Maybe he didn't disappear," she said. "Maybe he became a beginning." Elias slowly exhaled. If what they were saying was true, then humanity's story was far older than anyone on Earth had ever imagined. And somehow, without knowing it, they had already proven who they were to the galaxy. The elder straightened. "You will stay," she said. "Not as a prisoner, as a witness." Elias nodded. Somewhere deep inside him, a quiet certainty formed. This was only the beginning. Elias did not sleep that cycle. The guest chamber given to him was quiet and comfortable, but his mind refused to rest. The images from the memory archive kept returning again and again. The fragile human ship, the calm human voice, the promise left behind. None of it fit with what Elias knew about human history. He sat by the wide, transparent wall, watching stars drift past the station. Humanity had always believed itself young, still learning, still catching up to older civilizations, and yet, somewhere in the deep past, a single human had stood alone and helped save an entire species. And now Elias was here, standing in the shadow of that unknown legacy. When the doors finally opened, the elder Valori entered with Lyra close behind her. The elder's name, Elias had learned, was Salith. Her presence filled the room, not with fear, but with quiet authority. "You will come with us," Salith said. "There is more you need to see." Elias rose without protest. "I'm ready." They walked through the station, passing through levels Elias had not seen before. These areas were older, built with different materials, less polished but filled with meaning. Symbols were carved into the walls, repeating the same pattern again and again, a small star beside a larger one. "That symbol," Elias said softly. "It was in the memory." "Yes," Lyra replied. "It represents survival through unity." They entered another chamber, smaller than the archive but heavier in feeling. In the center stood a circular platform made of dark crystal. Soft light pulsed beneath its surface. "This is not history," Salith said. "This is inheritance." She gestured for Elias to step closer. "Our people do not only remember events. We pass down emotions, instincts, Warnings. My daughter felt recognition because this chamber awakened something within her. Lyra placed her hand on the platform. The light beneath it brightened. Elias hesitated only a moment, then placed his hand beside hers. The chamber reacted instantly. A wave of sensation passed through Elias, not painful, but overwhelming. He felt fear that was not his own, hope that did not belong to him, the desperate relief of a species that had survived when all odds said it should not have. He saw flashes, not clear images, but impressions. A human, working until exhaustion, Valori children watching the sky, believing they would die before morning, and then, survival. Elias pulled his hand back, breathing hard. That was real, he said. It felt alive. It was, Salith replied. And now you understand why your presence matters. Elias looked at Lyra. You carry this memory inside you. She nodded. All Valori children do. But it sleeps, until something wakes it. And I did, Elias said. Yes. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Elias spoke again. Why didn't you ever look for humanity? Salith's expression darkened slightly. We did, for centuries. But your species was quiet, small, hidden on the edge of the galaxy. We feared that revealing ourselves might harm you, so you watched us, Elias said. Yes, Salith admitted. From afar. We saw your wars, your struggles, your failures. Elias did not look away. And we saw your endurance, she continued. Again and again, you fell and stood back up, even without knowing what you once were. Before Elias could respond, an alarm echoed softly through the station, not loud, but urgent. Salith straightened. Report. A Valori attendant appeared on a light screen. Stellar instability detected in the Kepri drift. Early formation. Pattern matches archived catastrophe. Lyra's breath caught. The same one, she whispered. Elias felt a cold weight settle in his chest. Salith turned to him slowly. It seems history is not finished with us. They moved quickly to the observation hall. A massive star field filled the curved window. In the distance, space itself twisted unnaturally. Light bending and stretching. Our models say it will grow, a scientist said. Eventually it will tear through nearby systems. Can you stop it? Elias asked. The Valori exchanged uneasy looks. We could not stop it last time, Salith said. Not without human help. Elias swallowed. You're asking me to do something I'm not trained for. We are asking humanity, Salith replied. Through you. Elias thought of Earth, of engineers, scientists, ordinary people who solved problems not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to quit. Then we need to contact them, he said. Salith nodded. We already have. Hours passed as human and Valori minds worked together. Data flowed across screens. Human engineers questioned assumptions the aliens had never thought to challenge. Where alien models sought perfection, humans looked for good enough to work. This design is too complex, a human engineer said through the link. Simplify it. Let the system adapt instead of forcing control. The Valori hesitated. Their technology was built on precision. It might fail, one argued. So might doing nothing, Elias said calmly. Slowly, the plan changed. They would not try to destroy the instability. They would guide it, redirect its growth away from populated systems, and allow it to burn itself out naturally. It's risky, Salith said. So was the last time, Elias replied. But it worked. As preparations continued, Lyra stayed near Elias. Do you think he knew? She asked quietly. Knew what? Elias asked. That humans would return, she said. That someone like you would stand here. Elias considered this. I think he believed in his people, he said. Even if he never saw the future. Leaded be day. Leaded be day. Even if he never saw the future. The station hummed as systems aligned. The moment approached. Elias stood beside Salith, watching the distortion grow brighter. Whatever happens, Salith said, know this. Humanity is no longer unknown to us. Elias nodded. And we won't forget what we've learned here. As the first phase of the plan activated, the galaxy held its breath. And somewhere, deep within ancient memory and present choice, humanity's quiet strength began to show itself once again. The observation hall was filled with soft light and tense silence. Elias stood near the wide, transparent wall, his eyes fixed on the twisting distortion in space. It looked like a wound in the stars, slowly opening wider. Colors bent around it in strange ways, and even from this distance, it felt wrong, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Behind him, Valori scientists moved carefully between control panels. Their voices were low, controlled, but fear lived beneath every word. They had seen this before in their memories, and they knew how close they once came to extinction. On the human side of the link, engineers and researchers crowded around screens on Earth. Many of them had been pulled from rest or family time with little explanation. All they knew was that something ancient and dangerous was forming. And somehow, humanity had faced it before. Elias acted as the bridge between the two worlds. "Status check," he said calmly. "Guidance array is online," a Valori scientist replied. "Energy levels stable for now." "Human adaptive software synced," a voice from Earth said. "But it will need constant adjustment." Elias nodded. "Then we adjust." The plan was simple in idea and terrifying in execution. Instead of forcing the instability to collapse or explode, they would feed it controlled energy pulses, shaping its growth path like guiding a river around a city. The distortion would follow the easiest route, away from inhabited systems, until it lost strength and faded. If they misjudged even slightly, it could tear itself free and grow faster than before. Lyra stood near Elias, her hands clasped tightly. Her eyes never left the stars. "Last time," she said quietly, "we were children hiding underground. We did not understand what was happening. We only knew the sky was angry." Elias glanced at her. "And this time, you're facing it." She nodded. "Because of humans." Elias looked back at the distortion. "Because of everyone choosing to try." The first energy pulse was released. A soft vibration passed through the station. The distortion reacted, its edges shimmering, then stretching toward the new energy source like a living thing. "Response within expected range," a Valori scientist said, relief in their voice. "Good," Elias replied. "Prepare the second pulse." Minutes stretched into hours. With every pulse, the instability shifted, slowly changing direction. It was working, but not easily. The distortion resisted, pulling against the guidance like a storm fighting the wind. Then alarms flickered. "Unexpected acceleration," a human engineer warned. "It's learning." Elias felt his stomach tighten. "Learning how?" "It's adjusting to our inputs," the engineer said. "We need to change patterns, now." Valori scientists hesitated. Their systems were not built for fast improvisation. "Then let humans lead the timing," Elias said firmly. "Valori, keep the energy steady. Trust the process." Salith, watching from the command platform, nodded once. "Do it." Human engineers began altering pulse intervals, sometimes sending smaller bursts, sometimes delaying longer than predicted. There was no perfect math anymore, only instinct, experience, and constant feedback. "It's messy," one Valori scientist muttered. "Yes," Elias said softly. "That's how humans survive." The distortion slowed. Its growth pattern became uneven, then started to bend away from the nearest star system. Hope spread quietly through the hall, but it did not last. A sudden surge rippled through the distortion, brighter and stronger than before. The guidance arrays strained, energy levels spiking dangerously. "Array overload in 30 seconds, a Valori technician shouted. Elias's mind raced. If the array failed, the distortion would snap back toward the populated systems. "We need a release point," Elias said. "Somewhere to dump excess energy safely." Cry. 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 "There is none," a scientist replied. Unless what?" Elias pressed. "Unless we use the station itself as a temporary sink," the scientist said. But it was never designed for that. Silence fell. Using the station meant risking everything inside it. Including Elias. Including Lyra. Including Salith. Elias did not hesitate. Do it. Salith turned sharply. Human, this station is not yours to sacrifice. Elias met her gaze. Neither was the ship your record showed. But he still did it. Lyra's breath caught. Elias, we'll be fine, he said gently, though he did not know if it was true. We adapt. Salith looked at her people, at the stars, at the distortion that threatened not just her world, but many others. Begin transfer, she said. The station groaned as energy flooded its systems. Lights dimmed, then flared. The air vibrated, and Elias felt pressure building behind his eyes. Hold steady, Elias said through clenched teeth. Redirect now. The guidance arrays pulsed again, stronger and cleaner. The distortion reacted violently at first, then shuddered. Slowly, painfully, it bent. The release worked. Energy drained away from the instability, flowing into the station, then bleeding off harmlessly into empty space. The distortion began to shrink. Cheers did not erupt. No one moved. Everyone waited. Second by second, the twisted light faded, leaving behind normal stars and quiet space. It's collapsing, a human engineer whispered. Minutes later, the last trace vanished. The galaxy exhaled. Systems across the station stabilized. Lights returned to normal. The hum of machines softened. Elias finally allowed himself to sit down. Exhaustion crashing over him. Lyra stared at the stars, tears in her eyes. It's over, she whispered. Salith approached Elias slowly. Her proud posture softened. Once again, she said, humans chose risk so others could live. Elias shook his head. We chose cooperation. Salith considered this. Perhaps that is your greatest strength. Messages flooded in from other civilizations. Confused, relieved, and curious. They had felt the danger. They had seen it fade, and they wanted to know how. Lyra turned to Elias. They will remember this, she said. Elias looked at the quiet stars. So will we. Deep within Valori memory, a new layer formed. Not of fear, but of shared survival. Of a moment when old legends met present courage. Humanity was no longer a forgotten echo. It was here, and the galaxy had felt its impact once again. The station moved in silence after the crisis ended, not the empty silence of fear, but a quiet filled with disbelief and relief. Systems reported stable readings again and again, as if repeating the truth might make it more real. Outside the wide observation windows, the stars shone calmly, untouched by the danger that had nearly rewritten their future. Elias stood alone near the glass, his reflection faint against the endless dark. His body was tired, but his mind was awake in a way it had never been before. Humanity had crossed a line it did not even know existed. Not into conquest or power, but into memory. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. You should rest, Salith said. Elias turned. Soon, she joined him at the window. For a long moment, neither spoke. The other civilizations are already sending messages, Salith said. They want explanations. They want assurances. Some want to meet you. Elias sighed. I was just supposed to negotiate trade routes. Salith allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy rarely follows simple plans. Lyra entered the hall quietly, carrying a small crystal object in her hands. It glowed with a gentle inner light. Mother, she said, the council has agreed. Salith turned. Then it is done. She faced Elias again. Our people wish to formally acknowledge humanity. Elias straightened slightly. In what way? Salith gestured to Lyra. Through memory. Lyra stepped forward and held out the crystal. This contains our living record, she said. Not just of the past, but of what just happened. It will be shared across Valori space, and with those who choose to receive it. Elias hesitated. Once it's shared, it can't be taken back. That is why it matters, Salith replied. Elias took the crystal carefully. It was warm to the touch. What will they see? He asked. They will feel, Lyra said. Fear, hope, trust. And the moment when humans stood with us, not above us. Elias nodded slowly. Then it should be shared. Preparations moved quickly. The station became a place of gathering rather than command. Representatives from nearby civilizations arrived. Cautious, but curious. They had sensed the disturbance, and they had sensed its end. Elias stood before them not as a hero, but as a witness. We didn't save the galaxy alone, he said simply. We worked together. Humans just don't quit easily. Some listened in silence. Others exchanged thoughtful glances. The Vylori memory was released. Across systems and worlds, beings felt it. Not as images, but as understanding. They felt a small, fragile human ship refusing to leave. They felt hands working until they shook. They felt a promise made without demand for reward. And then they felt the present. Humans questioning assumptions. Humans accepting risk. Humans trusting others enough to work together. The reaction was immediate and powerful. Messages poured in. Some were filled with gratitude. Others with surprise. Many with a new kind of respect. Humanity was no longer just another young species trying to survive. They were remembered. Later, as the crowds thinned, Lyra walked with Elias through a quiet corridor lined with stars. When I first saw you, she said, I thought you were a ghost. And now? Elias asked. Now I understand, she replied. It was never about one man. It was about what humans do when the moment matters. They stopped near a viewing platform. Far away, Earth's star shone faintly. Will humanity change because of this? Lyra asked. Elias considered the question. We'll still argue. Still make mistakes. Still struggle. But now, we'll know we belong out here. Salith joined them once more. The Council has offered humanity a permanent seat in future interstellar assemblies. Elias smiled faintly. That's a big step. It is a necessary one, Salith said. The galaxy has seen what happens when humans are ignored. Lyra looked up at Elias. Do you think the one from the past would be proud? Elias looked at the stars, imagining that unknown human facing impossible odds. I think, he said softly, he trusted us to finish the story. As Elias prepared to leave the station, the Vylori gathered one final time. Not in fear, not in awe, but in respect. Salith spoke clearly. Long ago, a human saved us, and asked only that we be kind when humanity returned to the stars. She turned to Elias. Today, that promise is fulfilled. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. Mother. It was always them. All of them. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. Not pride, but responsibility. The ship carrying him back to human space launched quietly. As it moved away, Elias watched the station shrink into a point of light. On Earth, the story spread slowly at first. Then faster. Not as legend, but as truth. Supported by memory shared across species, humans listened. Some were shocked. Some were skeptical. Many were inspired. Humanity had not conquered the stars. They had earned their place among them. And somewhere in the deep silence between worlds, an old promise rested at last. Fulfilled not by one human, but by an entire species that refused to walk away when others needed them most.